Hello everyone, my name is Miles Rich and today we're going to be talking about privacy in the information age. It is important to understand what privacy means before one can understand the implications of technology on privacy. There is some debate on the meaning of privacy, but the conversation generally revolves around the ability to control access to oneself as well as access to information about oneself. While physical privacy is certainly important, it does not paint a full picture of what privacy is about, especially in the information age. Much of the debate surrounding privacy is concerned with individuals' rights to privacy versus the rights of others to gain access to an individual. There are valid arguments to support the rights of both parties, but it can be difficult to know where the line should be drawn, especially when it concerns criminal justice or national security. Personal privacy is critical for a large number of reasons. Sometimes there are details of people's life that they would prefer to keep private in order to avoid harassment or judgment by their peers. This could be something serious such as a health condition or their sexual orientation, or even something small like a hobby that they think they could be judged for. Regardless of how trivial some of this information may seem to others, it is important that people feel that they are able to be themselves without fear of judgment by their peers. People have a tendency to behave very differently when they are being watched versus when they believe that they are alone. If people feel that they are being watched, they will not feel free to be themselves. In some cases, this can be a good thing, as people will be less likely to commit crimes if they believe that they are being watched. More often, this limits freedom of expression and oppresses people into behaving in a way that they feel will be more accepted by others. An often overlooked aspect of privacy is that the control of access to personal information is a large part of relationship development. In most cases, the people that are closest to us are the ones that know the most about us. We share information about ourselves with others who we trust, and in exchange, we tend to gain their trust and access to their own information. Generally, the more information that is exchanged between people, the deeper the relationship and level of trust. In addition to seemingly trivial information, there is personal information that could be used for identity theft. With modern technology, it is easier than ever to find this information, and more important than ever to protect this information. People need to have the ability to control access to their social security number, banking information, as well as other personal data in order to prevent thieves from stealing their identity to commit fraud. The counter-arguments to personal privacy tend to revolve around the need for public access for information for the greater good. Wiretapping and surveillance often leads to crime prevention and is used for increased national security from terrorist attacks or foreign agents. These are both valid and important reasons why the government needs to monitor its own citizens. In many cases of mass shootings, there was digital clues found afterward that may have led authorities to be able to prevent the shootings to begin with if they had access. On a more positive note, there is also valid reasons why people should choose to be less private and share more information with one another. Humans have a need to socialize and a need for a sense of community. The more that people choose to distance themselves from one another and remain private, the harder it is for them to foster these relationships and gain a sense of community. In the past, people tended to interact with their neighbors more often and support each other in trying times. As people live more private and digital lives and spend less time interacting with their family and neighbors, they lose the support system and tend to be less happy. Under rule utilitarianism, Kantian as under social contract theory are considered wrong necessary to good reasons to not make a situation people, while there could be some good done by catching this is a big part of what social being watched. The negative effects of society as a whole are mutual crimes that everybody agrees to prevent the rule crime here and there supposed to prevent. Under the framework of virtue ethics, if the person spying on another is a virtuous person, or if the government spying on an individual is virtuous, and it's for a good reason, then it would be considered ethical. When looking at the ethics of privacy versus access overall, there are more problems with the invasions of personal privacy than there are positives. Sure, there are situational exceptions, but under most ethical frameworks, as demonstrated previously, it is important to recognize the right to privacy for the greater good of all. Despite protections such as the Third and Fourth Amendment, there is a long history of the United States government finding ways to infringe on the privacy rights of its citizens. There has been some legal back and forth over the years, but with the Patriot Act, there are almost no barriers to data collection by the government. In the past, government agencies would need to provide probable cause in order to get a warrant for surveillance. Now, all that a government agency needs to do is state that the surveillance will be part of a criminal investigation. Due to this, there is very little preventing the government from spying on any citizen's communications for any reason. With this increased government surveillance, there is increased possibilities for people to be wrongly accused due to their browsing history or misunderstandings of their other communications. There is a federal terrorist watch list, officially known as the Terrorist Screening Database, that is used to catalog potential terrorists based on unknown criteria. In several instances, there have been individuals that were not allowed to fly, such as Senator Edward Kennedy, due to their name being similar to someone on this list. In other cases, people have been wrongly accused of crimes based on circumstantial digital evidence that seemingly links them to a crime. There is a fine line between invasions of privacy for the public good and going too far. In a country such as the United States that values democracy and personal freedom so highly, it is counter to the most sacred values of the country to invade the privacy of its own citizens. For as much as China and Russia are made to be the villains, and rightfully so, based on their oppressive surveillance and subsequent persecution of their dissenting citizens, the United States has been headed down the wrong road for quite some time. In addition to the dangers of the government invasions of privacy, there are a number of threats coming from private businesses as well. On the highest level, companies such as Facebook and Google have been collecting detailed information on people for years. These companies track the browsing history and profile data of users, and then proceed to build profiles of individuals that they then use to sell advertisement slots to marketers. This results in highly targeted and predictive marketing that many would consider to be invasive and predatory. Facebook has been known to use cookies to track individuals' browsing habits even when they are logged out of Facebook, and has gone as far as to create advertisement profiles for people that do not even have accounts on Facebook. In the case of Facebook and other social media websites, people are not only able to, but they are encouraged to share personal information, much of which could be used for identity theft or other invasions of privacy. In some cases, data is collected by one company and sold to another company without the knowledge of the individual. Today, more than ever, personal information is a highly valuable commodity that can be bought and sold, and as such, it is important for people to be very critical of what they choose to share. In order to be ethically responsible, companies today have a duty to be respectful of people's privacy. This means that to begin with, they should only collect information that is relevant and necessary to their line of business. This provides protections for consumers so that if there is a security breach, there is less information to be stolen. Additionally, companies need to be transparent about what kind of data they are collecting, as well as what they use it for, and who it will be shared with. If people are aware that information they share with a company will be sold to other companies and used for other purposes, they will be more likely to be informed enough to decline to share their information if they choose to. A great way for companies to be transparent and consumer-friendly is to use opt-in policies on their websites, where the user has to choose to opt in to sharing any sort of data or using any feature up front, as opposed to opt-out of policies where the company assumes that they agree to everything and bury the ability to opt out behind menus and other deceptive practices. In conclusion, it is clear that privacy is very important and needs to be protected for individuals. In the information age, there are more ways for both the government and private entities to invade privacy, and it is more important than ever that we as individuals and as a society work to protect privacy. While privacy as it was known decades ago is a thing of the past, the rise of the internet has not changed the need for privacy, rather it has shifted the goalposts. It is inevitable that some privacy will be lost due to the digital revolution, but that only makes it more critical that the privacy that still exists remains and is strengthened in the years to come. Identity theft has only become easier, and as such, people need to be more aware and more guarded with their online habits. In order to preserve privacy in the information age, there needs to be action taken both on a legislative level as well as on a personal level. There needs to be better legal protections for privacy, preventing both the government and businesses from abusing personal information. But society needs to be better informed on the importance of privacy and protection of one's personal information. Everyone needs to learn this, but it is especially crucial that children are taught this from a young age, as they are going to live their entire lives in the information age.